Hi, my name is Kibwe Madyun, and this video is my CV. I'd first like to talk a little about my educational background. I have a BS degree in electronic technology engineering from Norfolk State University. I've completed 2 years of postgraduate studies in the area of industrial engineering education. I've also, during my work experience, taken numerous courses going all the way back to MS-DOS, Windows 95, if you can remember back that far, Microsoft Office, Unix, Linux, Sun OS systems, Oracle, SQL, and several other basic computer programming courses. In moving on, let me talk a little about my work experience. I'm going to give you my work experience in reverse order. From 1995 till 2008, I was an independent consultant, what we call a short-time consultant for the World Bank. My last position with the World Bank occurred between October 2004 and June 2008. I held the position as weekend customer support, first tier support for Lotus Notes and the World Bank Enterprise Network. I was responsible for assisting staff when calling in with problems with Lotus Notes configuration, desktop functionality, accessing the World Bank Enterprise via dial-in or VPN by way of the internet, password resets, assisting in configuring for remote access from home or basically anywhere that they were located. My next position with the bank, also as a consultant, occurred in the remote access department. This was from June 2001 till September 2004. I was responsible for conducting workshops and doing one-on-one training for the AT&T remote access application. I actually was involved also in configuring desktops and laptops with this software. So a client would come in with their laptop, we would determine what part of the world they were headed, and we would configure their laptops thus that they could access the World Bank's enterprise network from that particular location and their Lotus Notes application. We taught how to replicate, how to use Lotus Notes when you're not logged into the on the internet or when you do not have VPN connectivity. From August 1996 till January 2001, I worked in the Africa region of the World Bank as a Lotus Notes consultant. I was responsible for assisting in implementing Lotus Notes in 22 World Bank offices throughout Sub-Saharan Africa. This meant that we actually configured the Lotus Notes servers in Washington, and they were shipped to the office. Once I arrived, we brought the Lotus Notes servers online. I was responsible for setting up the classroom area, conducting Lotus Notes training for the staff members in a classroom environment, and for management, the training was done on a one-to-one basis. I stayed, once Lotus Notes became live, I stayed for anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks assisting staff members in getting used to the Lotus Notes environment and any other problems they were having, be it Lotus Notes administration, enterprise network problems, just making sure, hand-holding to make sure that everything went smoothly as the office began to make the change to Lotus Notes. The minimum stay for each location was 21 days. So I was on site at that particular location for at least 21 days. My very first position with the World Bank was in 1995, September 1995, as a training consultant. I was responsible for conducting workshops and classroom training for the bank's enterprise network. The bank was moving from a division mainframe server configuration using dumb terminals into a bank-wide enterprise network environment where each staff member would now have a desktop computer on their desk. I conducted training for over 1,800 staff members in introducing the enterprise network to the bank environment. I'd like to speak just a little about my experience, my work experience before entering the World Bank. I worked as a subcontractor on several United States Department of Defense projects. One project was known as Worldwide Ports. Our team was responsible for computerizing the ammunition inventory for the United States government in major ports around the world. We would first visit the location, do a site survey, return to our office, and determine what particular computer configuration would fit that office, depending on the office size and the number of people in the office. We were using Sun Microsystems for our computer system, which runs Sun OS. Once we determined what system we would use, we would configure that system, ship it out to the location, return to the location for implementation. Normally, when we entered, there was no computer system. When we left, the computer system was up and running. We ran the cables, set up the terminals, did any other manual configuration that had to be done in order to get the system up and running. Once we were finished, a training team arrived, and one team member, would stay on while the training was going on and while the system came online. Another project for the Department of Defense that I was a part of was known as TOPS. Don't really remember what the acronym stood for, but the purpose of the project was to automate the process for moving military personnel's household property. In the beginning, I was a part of the training team which trained on the software. I then moved on to become in charge of the implementation of the hardware for the United States Air Force branch. Now let's take this back to where it all started. My first year out of college, I was a manufacturing engineer for Westinghouse. The next year was spent doing volunteer work in Ghana with an organization called Crossroads Africa. I spent a year there teaching math and science. From there, I moved on, went back to the U.S., and for the next 9.5 years, I was an assistant professor in the School of Technology for Norfolk State University. And what you really have now is a summary of my work experience. There's many experiences which would be impossible to cover during this brief video. I'm very excited. This was really a challenge. I had fun doing it. I just received an Apple computer back in December, so this is my first time using the application. It was a challenge, and I wanted to do something different and creative. I hope you appreciate it. I hope you enjoy it, and I really look forward to talking to you in the future. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy life, and remember, it's only a ride. So let's go for the ride.